Hello, first graders. We are back for lesson 3 today, and the title of today's story is called The Shot Heard Round the World. Let's go over the vocabulary. The first word is belfry. Say belfry. That is a tower that holds a large bell inside. The middle one here is obeyed. Say obeyed. That means that you are following orders or did something that somebody told you to do. And the last word is spies. Say spies. Those are people who secretly keep watch on other people to find out information about what's happening. At the end of today's read aloud, you will be able to explain how Paul Revere helped the colonists, explain what 1 if by land, 2 if by sea means, identify who the redcoats were, and evaluate what the shot heard round the world is all about. After the Boston Tea Party, King George sent thousands of British soldiers to Boston to make sure the colonists obeyed the king's orders. They swarmed the streets of the city in their fancy red uniforms with shiny buttons, earning themselves the name of redcoats. They carried weapons with them everywhere they went. This made the people of Boston very angry. The city no longer felt like home to them. They did not know who to trust. Spies spread out all over the city, British soldiers disguised as colonists, and colonists disguised as British soldiers. There were lots of whispering in the streets as people kept secrets from one another. It was not pleasant and even a little bit scary. Paul Revere was a silversmith living in Boston. As a silversmith, he was kept quite busy making and repairing silver dinnerware, candlesticks, and jewelry. A sign with a silver pitcher hung inside his shop in the town square. One day, the door to his shop flew open, and a friend rushed over to Revere's side. The two men were both members of the Sons of Liberty, the group of patriots who had emptied tea into the Boston harbor. Ever since the Boston Tea Party, the colonists of Massachusetts had been hiding weapons, gunpowder, and cannonballs in neighboring towns. The British, afraid the colonists might be planning to attack them, captured the weapons whenever they learned where they were hidden. Now, as the two men huddled together in the back of Revere's shop, his friend whispered that the British were planning to raid the colonists' storehouse of weapons in the town of Concord. The British were to travel that night, he said, but nobody knew whether they would march there by land or choose the shorter route and sail on a boat by sea. The patriots knew they must somehow warn the militia in Concord that the British were coming by sea. Revere spied on the British to discover the soldiers' plans. Then he arranged for a signal to be given, or a secret code. His friend was to climb up the bell tower of the Old North Church, light one lantern, and hang it by the belfry. If the British are traveling on foot by land, Revere told his friend, but if they are traveling on a boat by sea, hang 2 lanterns. That night after dark, Paul Revere left his family and crept quietly down to the banks of the Charles River. He quietly crossed the river in a boat to a spot where fellow patriots waited with a horse, saddled and ready to go. Once across, Paul Revere mounted the horse, tipped his hat in thanks to the patriots, and sped away. As he galloped through towns along the way, Revere shouted to the colonists in their bed, "The redcoats are coming! The redcoats are coming!" All around him, shutters were thrown open as people began waking up in the middle of the night. When Revere reached the town of Lexington with word of the approaching British troops, men hurried from their homes, joining one another with their muskets in the middle of the town. These men, known as Minutemen because they were expected to be ready at a minute's notice, slept with their muskets and gunpowder beside their beds. At dawn, the British reached Lexington. The Minutemen were farmers and shopkeepers, volunteers for their country, not trained soldiers. They looked ragged next to the well-dressed British soldiers or the redcoats. In the confusion of the early morning hours, a shot was fired. Others fired back, and fighting continued throughout that morning. Finally, Minutemen were able to force the British to return to Boston, firing at them from behind rocks, trees, and fences all along the way. To this day, nobody has any idea who fired the first shot that day. Nerves had been on edge since the Boston Tea Party, so it was not very surprising that guns even went off. That first shot was the beginning of a long war between the British and their American colonies. It is known as the shot heard round the world because not only did it change life in the colonies, but it also changed things around the world in Great Britain, all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. That long war became known as the Revolutionary War. Could it be that the shot heard round the world rang out so loudly from Massachusetts colony that it actually reached King George's ears that morning? What do you think? All right, first graders, that is your story for today. Please make sure to do your Google form. Have a good day.